but it is a Saturday night in the NBA. So let's take a look at what else has been happening tonight. And this one, a lot of eyes, especially in this part of the country, on Lakers, Pelicans. No AD. Second quarter,
No
Kyle
AD,
Kuzma.
yeah, we talked about no superstar, big letdown.
You weren't kidding.
This is a bad loss that could come back to haunt the Los Angeles Lakers.
Lose at Philly, win at Boston, lose at Atlanta, win against Houston, lose against the Pelicans without AD.
None of it makes sense, right? This just doesn't make any sense. And they didn't just, but they lost pretty.
It does make sense. That's what happens when you're a 500 basketball team.
Ooh, that locker room might be a little awkward.
Weight on James's shoulder, man. I don't see the Lakers making the playoffs.
Well, they're falling. They continue to do so a little bit further back from that 8th spot, 13 and a half.
We got news
back.
for you Lakers fans. Keep your head up.
We do. But, Paul, don't get too cute yet, because we've got a little Celtics Bulls for you, my friend.
Matter. The Celtics at least going to make
That's fair. No, that's fair. But I do want to know this. The Bulls had a crazy win last night against Orlando by a point.
Okay.
Then they turn
were
around.
down 20 points. The Celtics can still win this game. So
What's going on?
Come clean, Paul. Levine put work in on them boys, and they took that L.
Nene.
Hey, my old teammates still got the hops.
We'll talk this game next.
This halftime is presented by Metro.
The Sports Center tonight after BYU Gonzaga on ESPN with Steve Levy and Zubin. Recap this one, some takeaways from the Duke-Syracuse game, and highlights, of course, Tigers third round down in Mexico. Welcome back to our show right now, and we talked so much Chris Paul in the pre because of no James Harden, and he's doing all right.
Well, like we talked about in court, but he's still an elite point guard in this game. I mean, 11 assists in this first half, 0 turnovers.
0.
That's what Chris Paul does, and we know. We talked about his hands, some of the best hands the league has ever seen as far as getting steals, but he's just a leader. He's a general. I mean, how about that no-look pass right there? Gerald Green didn't even see it coming.
Ooh, no.
And he's, like Paul said, going to be in isolation situations, and he's a problem out there. But the third quarter's coming, and it's the Warriors.
CP3 got the props, but his best supporting actor as we salute the Oscars tomorrow is Kenneth Fareed. Look at that crossover and finish with the left. And this hustle play. This is why he got paid the big bucks in Denver. Now it looks like he's found a home in Houston, giving them great effort plays.
Despite all that, CP and Kenneth Fareed's greatness, when you have Kevin Durant and Steph Curry, no lead is safe. I don't care how big it is in the Golden State Warriors home building. As they make a run late, these two guys are picking it up with 19 points and 13 points, respectively. Golden State is going to win this game, guys.
Here's a problem for the Houston Rockets. The Golden State Warriors third quarter team is the 31st team in the league.
Well, a 20-point lead down to a 7, and partly because of that dude right there. Second half action coming up with Mike, Mark, and Lisa.
Watch the third quarter Warriors.
From the NBA, T-Wolf center Karl Anthony Towns will miss the first game of his 4-year career tonight. He's in concussion protocol after a car accident last night. It took place when he was en route to the airport to catch the team's charter for tonight's game in New York against the Knicks. He did take a commercial flight instead, but did not participate in today's shoot-around again. He is out in concussion protocol after an accident. LeBron and the Lakers got the better of James Harden, Chris Paul, and the Rockets last night, salvaging one win in their 4 meetings this season as they got back to 500. Surprise, surprise, there was drama on the court at Staples Center. Fouls and officiating, that was the biggest storyline. Harden had 3 fouls in the first quarter. 4 of his 6 fouls he fouled out occurred on the offensive end. His 4 charges tied for the most in any game this season, the most he's had over the last 5 seasons, too. So Harden and Chris Paul, they both hit 6 fouls last night, both of them becoming the only starting backcourt to foul out in a single game this season. In fact, they're the only Rockets starting backcourt to foul out of a game in the last 20 years. Referee Scott Foster at the center of it. He called 7 fouls on the Rockets in the fourth quarter alone, topping the 6 he called on the Lakers throughout the entire game. No surprise, the Rockets duo not happy. They were jawing at the officials all night long, in particular Scott Foster. Listen to what they said afterwards.
Scott Foster, man, he's I never really talk about officiating or anything like that, but just rude and arrogant.
I feel like it's a personal issue.
Yeah, for sure. For sure it's personal. For sure. Like, I don't think he should be able to even, officiate our games anymore, honestly.
I mean, I don't know what else to do. You know what I mean? Been met with the league with him before and all this stuff. I don't know what else to do.
You feel like there is a personal?
I just don't know what else to do. You know what I mean? Just keep playing. I don't know what else to do.
Tim Legler played 10 seasons in the NBA. By the way, no word yet on any fines to come down. Surely they will, but they didn't hold back in their criticism of Scott Foster. I know you broke down a lot of these plays. Do they have a case? What do you see?
Yeah, sometimes you got to let it out, and they did last night. Unfortunately, Sage, I didn't have time to go back and watch every game Scott Foster's ref when the Rockets are playing.
Yeah.
Put this in a greater context because they have it. I go case-by-case basis. To me, that's a little bit dicey, that push off, but James Harden gets away with a ton of those, so I don't know if he can complain about it. The 2 offensive fouls on the passes, clearly charges. I think Kyle Kuzma and LeBron both there waiting on him, clearly set. And this one, there's contact. Even though it's on Ingram's left arm, there is contact. Now, is that called every time a guy drives? No, it's a 50-50 call. It certainly doesn't merit that kind of overreaction. Here's what's going on. They have a perceived view of Scott Foster. That's well before what happened last night. So when they get calls that don't go their way and he's on the floor, it's a lot more about the bigger picture in Scott Foster than it is that call in that moment. Because when you break them down play by play, most of those, in my opinion, were accurate calls last night. But when you think there's a slant and a tilt coming from an official, then you're not going to view those the same way. You heard a whistle, it's against you. You automatically think there's some bias there. Look, it's human nature for players to feel this way about certain officials. It happens. We're all human beings.
Exactly. Chris Paul, of course, always vocal, certainly not always on the best side of the officials. We'll see how this plays out, though. I don't know that they're going to get their wish that he never officiates another one of their games again, though. Tim Legler, thank you, sir. We'll let you know, by the way, when any fines, not if, but when any fines come down here. DeMar DeRozan, he said earlier in the show, emotions. It was tough for him to leave Toronto, but now it is all business. Back north of the border, playing for the first time since the trade last summer. Spurs, Raptors, top of the hour here on ESPN. Welcome back to SportsCenter. It's been 7 months since Raptors GM Masai Ujiri traded the former face of this franchise, DeMar DeRozan, and he returns to play in Toronto for the first time. His Spurs are the current 7th seed in the West, face a tough challenge against the hottest team in the NBA, his former team, the Toronto Raptors. They've won 6 straight games. The first time they played, it was back on January 3rd. Kawhi's return to San Antonio. Listen to how the Spurs faithful greeted him.
6'7" forward from San Diego State, number 2, Kawhi Leonard. 6'9" forward from New Mexico State.
Got to remember, Kawhi didn't exit exactly gracefully. He only played in 9 games. He said he wanted out. He got out. But here's how he played that night. 21 points in his return to San Antonio. So Kawhi looking like Kawhi. And then DeRozan, how about that? Powerful slam. And then the floater and one. He had his first career triple-double with 21 points, 14 boards, 11 assists as the Spurs won 125-107. Emotions were high that night, and they'll be high again tonight.
My whole NBA career was here. Being removed from it, not even a full season, coming back here, playing my first game, you know, pretty sure it mean a lot just to come back, see the fans, see the familiar faces. So looking forward to it.
You're facing San Antonio then. Is there any emotion on your side?
No, just want to play any other game. Another regular season game after All-Star break. Obviously want to come on and get a win.
And Doris Burke will be on the call for DeMar DeRozan's emotional return to Toronto at top of the hour here on ESPN. Doris, good to see you again. I know you've watched DeMar a lot this season as he adjusts to the Spurs system. His numbers are pretty good, just slightly lower than they were last season. How would you assess his transition?
Well, the Spurs would tell you as an organization he has been everything they anticipated. Think over the first month, he averaged 27 points per game. And the beauty of playing for a Spurs organization is they're going to put you in your sweet spots, right? DeMar DeRozan is the consummate mid-range shooter. So many injuries have played a part in their season. He's had to average a career-high 6 assists because he's been a primary playmaker. He's also rebounded it quite well. But tonight is going to be difficult. This is a very emotional man. He grew up here, so I'm anxious to see how he performs.
Yeah, me too. He was very upset when the trade went down. And again, the Raptors made the move to trade DeMar for Kawhi and Danny Green. It was obvious at the time they're pushing for their first finals berth right now. They want it now. So 2 spot in the East, game and a half behind Milwaukee. Doris, what will it take for them to finally make their first NBA Finals?
Sage, I believe they have all the pieces to come out of the East. They are long, they're athletic, they're deep, and you begin with Kawhi Leonard, right? A finals MVP in his past, an elite defensive player. He is the guy you will play through late to get you the big buckets. Kyle Lowry has been the engine driving this franchise for as long as I can remember. He could be more aggressive. You have Pascal Siakam, who has taken a monster step forward, maybe the most improved player, can put it on the deck and play 3, 4, and 5 positions. He is tremendous. And I think the addition of Marc Gasol as a high post passer and giving this team a little bit more playmaking. This team is deep, Sage. They've got the pieces. The East is going to be a wonderfully competitive playoff race.
Yes, finally. And it does feel a little bit different this time in Toronto. Doris Burke, we look forward to your call, 7 Eastern, here on ESPN. Thank you so much. So that's where our doubleheader kicks off tonight, north of the border in Toronto. And then Game 2, Russell Westbrook looks to extend his record triple-double streak to 12 as the Thunder take on the Jazz. Both games, as always, on ESPN and the ESPN app.
Welcome inside our LA NBA studio with Paul and Byron. I'm Michelle. Thunder up 66-57 at the half. We'll talk a little bit about this game, but first, it's been a fun night around the league, and we'll start with what is probably my favorite highlight of the evening. I don't know what Lauri Markkanen and Aaron Gordon have going on here.
Welcome to my block, buddy.
That's one.
That's one.
This is personal.
Right?
That's 2.
Has this happened where it's just the same dude over and over?
And that's 3.
I mean, he's swatting. They all went out of bounds, too.
Now, Bill Russell said you should block it, but keep it in play.
Well, I mean, it just seemed angry at one point. Here we go. Fouled by, you guessed it.
You got to be kidding me.
He does make the free throw, and he does get the last laugh. Markkanen does, because the Bulls end up doing what they needed to do. And by the way, Orlando's fighting for stuff right now.
Bad loss.
That's
fighting for Mount Zion.
Yeah, but bad loss for Orlando.
Whatever. Pistons, Hawks. Okay, explain to me what I just saw.
Ooh, wait.
Trae Young has, I'm telling you, the last about 15, 20 games, Trae Young has picked up his play.
Young fella playing really well.
If it wasn't for Luka Doncic,
yes,
we'll be talking about him for Rookie of the Year.
I could watch that last moment over and over again. Here we go. Thon Maker with the 3. Pistons win 125-122. McClure, first quarter Knicks in Timberwolves game here. Knicks down 3. Dennis Smith Jr.
Watch your head.
Dunk of the night.
That is silly.
Easy.
You know what? Good move moving out of the way, right?
Yeah. Well, you still highlight.
I mean, there's no point in standing
Might as well show it again.
Yeah.
Goodness. But unfortunately,
I used to get up like that.
Get out the way.
Next fall. Bummer.
Reminds me of somebody.
What? Excuse me? Don't do this. Don't do this right now. Westbrook, here we go. A little layup, rocking the baby. 20 points for him. We will discuss next. There it is.
This happened.
SportsCenter tonight following Jazz Thunder and after the buzzer with Scott Van Pelt. DeMar DeRozan's big return up north. He'll take you inside Tigers' second round in Mexico. Is he leaving? No. SVP on whether Steph's best career season is just being ignored right now, though. Tonight's Going Places brought to you by Toyota. The offense for this Oklahoma City Thunder team, I think we've become numb. 66 points on the board, Byron. How?
Well, in transition, you cannot turn the ball over against OKC. If you do, it is an instant layup or dunk, and they are the best in the league as far as turning teams over.
And if it doesn't get said, Steven Adams had 5 steals.
Yes, he did.
In the first half. I just think that needs to be said. How about Donovan Mitchell?
Well, I'm going to tell you one thing. Donovan Mitchell came out from the start of this game, from the opening tip, got the steal. And he's playing like a guy that, like, look, I didn't make the All-Star game. I got a chip on my shoulder. And that's the way I see him playing tonight. I mean, you can tell in his step. He got the break, All-Star weekend, and he was like, look, I'm going to come back a better player. And he's playing pissed off that he didn't make the All-Star team. I'm telling you, and I can see it in his play.
I always think the first few games right after the All-Star break are quite interesting because I never know what to expect. Is this about par for the course, what you guys expected?
No, they're actually playing better. You expect both teams to be rusty, but these two teams are putting up big points, shooting high percentages from the field. So usually you're a little rusty because of the time off.
Well, also, the fact that they played against each other last year in the playoffs, they're trying to make a little statement.
There's some anger in there somewhere. But Donovan Mitchell, whether it's a chip on the shoulder or not, it's working. Game high 21 points. Second half action coming back with Dave and